Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball Podcast, episode 86. I'm Adam Miller, and I'm here with Jaren Wilt each and every week, and we are going to be bringing you the news and notes on all 11 Division I schools in the state of Indiana, because in 49 states,
it's just basketball.
I hate lying in the
I was about to call you. You are a liar. In the first 10 seconds of our episode this week, Adam has lied to our listeners and viewers.
See, here's the thing. I don't hate lying, and so that was a lie. So now it's multiple lies. I'm just racking them up. I'll lie for content, just so you know. So keep your ears open, your eyes on their toes, or whatever they say. That's what they say, right?
Well, let's say keep your eye on the ball.
Well, there is no ball. It's the off season. 8 weeks of practice going on.
There's still practice.
Off season practice.
But no, we apologize. Kind of.
Not me. Aaron apologizes. I just definitively do not apologize.
No. We decided that this year, or this summer, that it's been hard for us to, get guests on. We know that we get tired of hearing our own. I get tired of hearing my own voice. Adam, it does not. He'll talk your ear off. Yeah. But
we got a car ride coming up, dude. Prepare to be yapped to death.
We took a little bit of a break this summer because there wasn't just a whole lot that we wanted to cover. Anything we covered now, like, it would impede with, some of our preseason preview of stuff. So, like, we're just trying to keep it, level this summer. It's been kind of nice that, I like seeing them on Sundays, but it's been nice that 7 o'clock or on Sunday rolls around. It's like, I don't have to get up and get ready. I can just chill.
If I'm going to be completely honest, this is not a lie. I'm going to be completely honest here. Something actually broke in me when Halliburton's Achilles broke. Like,
that's also
when
true.
He went down, I was fully, like, before that moment, I was fully prepared to come on the next episode, talk about the Pacers, just be the happiest I've ever been on a camera in my life, and, like, just use that momentum. And then I was just heartbroken. I just couldn't do it. Like, basketball just did not hit. I was like, I just watched the Pacers lose. We should have won. Hallie was going for 40, man. Like, it actually, like, no exaggeration, broke something in me for a while, and I was like, I can't think of basketball right now.
I can confirm that because we talk off the show.
We are friends, surprisingly.
Yeah, we are. We're not just business associates. We're pretty okay friends.
Our intern is not our friend. We have a very strict line there.
Yeah. On air talent versus off air.
Yeah.
But no, so, like, we talk all the time, right? And we'll send each other tweets. We'll send each other tweets and stuff, and it was just I almost called in, like, I don't know, I almost called your wife and been like, hey, just make sure he got out of bed today. Then I thought about it, well, he has to get out of bed because he's got a family to watch during the day, kids to take care of and whatnot.
Maybe they were watching me, man.
Who knows?
I was real sad.
He was down bad.
So, that would have been, that explains it a little bit. Been busy too, but
it's been a sneaky busy summer.
Yeah, but we're back. The boys are back.
Not in town because we've already been in town, but
no, like, we've been sneaky busy. We haven't even been able to find time for our good friend Scott Moore. I mean, that hurts me.
Yeah, I was talking to my dad about that yesterday. We had an aggregate 3-hour car ride.
Yeah.
We've been putting off going to play golf with Coach Scott Moore.
No.
We've got an open pickleball challenge with Luke and Ben up at, or I guess down at IUND. And we've been falling short.
Yeah.
Because of just being busy.
Yeah. But we will get back.
We are back.
That's true. And you know what? We're back, and we're not the only ones who are back. Our guest is back again.
I see what you did there.
You obviously saw it in the show thing.
The description, the title,
side note,
on the screen.
I really don't like when podcasts have a guest on and they, like, won't say who it is. like I'm doing right now. But like, they will like dance around it for a while. As like, maybe the guest segment is like 30 minutes in. They will like dance around it for a long time, and it's like I've read the episode title. For a lot of people, that's why they're here.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, there's not like, yeah, we're having Brooks Miller on. They won't say it. We're having Brooks Miller on. He is no longer at Trine. He's at Central Michigan, and we're going to hear about why he's excited about that, how hard it was to leave Trine, and kind of, I guess he's technically not even the first guest we've had on post Indiana tenure.
Did Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ummerkaus.
Yeah.
They just we so next we got to get someone who went to Ohio, and then someone who went to Kentucky, because Ben went west, Brooks went north.
Yeah.
Got to get someone. We'll just get Gabe Cups. He's Ohio. We got to get someone else. But yeah, we've got Brooks Miller on, so we're excited. Anything else you want to say before we bring this man in here?
No, I'm just excited for the conversation we're gonna have.
All right, let's bring him in. All right, we have the pleasure of being joined for the second time on this show, Coach Brooks Miller. He's not only Coach of the Year, but also a national championship winning coach. So we are excited to have him on and have him back. But this time you're wearing different gear, Coach. How you doing?
Yeah, we're doing good. We officially made the move up here to Mount Pleasant from Angola about 3 weeks ago, July 4th week, and the kids have been wrapped up in some camps here at Sacred Heart, and they've been coming to practice a little bit, and my wife's enjoying making sure the house is ready to go and everything else. So it's been a obviously an emotional transition, because we love Trine so much, and we always will be members of that community, and that is the place that's the foundation of our family there in Angola. So, but we were ready for the next step in the journey, and to work for a coach like Coach Andy Bronkema was a great opportunity that we didn't want to miss.
Awesome. I mean, we're glad that we're sad to see you go from Trine. Obviously, you did a lot of good there. You brought a national championship. You and the players, won that national championship. But we're sad to see you go. But we're obviously happy to see you move on. To I guess you would say, just by like the nature of the job, like a bigger job, moving up to the Division I ranks, at that head assistant job at a Division I school. So we're proud of you, but you did win, like you did run a very successful program at Trine, like we said, national champion, never finished worse than fourth in the conference. But before you talk about your move and moving to Central, kind of just reflect on your time at Trine a little bit. I think it was 14 seasons you did there. What do those years mean to you?
Yeah, 14 years. And it was a lot like having two jobs, because in Hershey Hall, which was a beautiful place, it was a great opportunity there. My first 8 years, we ran a program where we were able to get into the top four of the MIAA every year. But we just couldn't quite get over the hump to win an MIAA championship and get into the NCAA tournament. And then, with wonderful leadership there, Dr. Brooks and Rick and Vicky James, Keith and Cindy Turner, Ralph and Sherry, trying to go down the list of the board members that built the MTI Center, everything changed. So it was like getting a new job midway through the job that I had. But the thing that I'll reflect on the most are the players. I'm just so thankful to have had the players that we had, and their families, and the support, their commitment to our style of play, their commitment to each other, and then to the Angola community, not just our basketball program and the university. They just really dove into what we believed in, and understanding that nobody was going to accomplish anything we wanted to accomplish by ourselves. And just real thankful for them and their families. We learned a ton from them. We adjusted. The one thing when you're a first year head coach at a Division III school, especially the one that I was at, I think at the time we got the job, we were ranked in the mid 300s, and the finished 7th or 8th in the MIAA the year before we got there. You got to learn how to coach and make mistakes as a head coach. And maybe 5 people recognized it, and 2 of them really, got on you about it. So, there was a process there. And if it wasn't for the players, I don't think that, we would be where we're at today or had the success. And we win a national championship in 2024, but the guts and the foundation of that was built in 2011, 2012, with Ian Jackson, Scott Rogers, Tim Piercy, those guys that, really allowed us to build a program and start a program and find out what worked for our staff. And that was great. And the staff as well. Doug Williams was my first assistant coach along with Kyle Lindsay. It was just the three of us. And Doug was more than a mentor to me. He was an incredible defensive coach, but he was even better than that, a teacher. And he taught me how to teach in a lot of different ways of how to get across a different type of student athletes and different ways we could go. And we won a lot of games with Kyle as our head assistant. In my time there, I only had 3 full-time assistant coaches. Kyle Lindsay was with me for 6 years. Drew Lehman was with me for 7. And then Isaac Anderson was with me 1 year as a full-time, but 2 overall. So really fortunate. John Weissong joined the group 6-7 years ago, and I think he's got over an 85% winning percentage in our program. So we give a lot of credit to John since he joined the team, and John was incredible. And again, another older retired high school coach that had a lot of success that really helped us get off to where we needed to go. But the time was the time, and to culminate everything in a national championship was really, really special. I actually just went back and watched that game for the first time all the way through start to finish the week we moved in here. And seeing the people in the crowd that I didn't really recognize were there at the time, it was really special. I'll get a little selfish here, but like there were little league coaches that I had, high school best friends, high school teachers that were there, coaches. I had college teammates. We had former players. I had college coaches there, and then I even had colleagues there. Coach Beard took a private jet from Ole Miss with a couple buddies of ours that we worked with at Texas Tech, and flew up for the game, and were sat right behind the bench. So it was really a time of everything coming together. And I think that has everything to do with relationships. So whether we're at Central Michigan, or I was at South Plains, or Texas Tech, Hillsdale, and now here, or when I was at Trine, it's all about the relationships we were able to build. And we want to do the same thing here at Central with Coach Bronkema leading the way.
That's awesome. I love to hear that, just that entire experience that you had. And then, it is almost kind of that storybook ending of, winning the national championship, having so many people who have impacted your life, who helped you get to where you were, and then help you, achieve that either directly or indirectly. It's incredible. I think it's always really cool to hear.
My cousin Sam, he was about 5 years older than me, so I always kind of looked up to him. He was like an older brother. He'd pick on me and stuff like that. Well, he was able to come and bring our 95-year-old grandma at the time, and my grandma was always my biggest fan, and she was like in the second row. And when Fred hit the 3 to put us up, I think maybe 9. I think he put us up 9 with about 2 minutes and 15 seconds left, or 2.5 minutes left. I started finding out where she was sitting, and went over and gave her a big hug after the game. And she was the closest one I could find, and just she's still going. She just had her 97th birthday this past week, so I still call her after every game, and she's looking forward to the new group here at Central.
That's so cool. Just got to be a proud grandma moment, especially when she's so invested. You really built something special at Trine. I mean, I went to Trine. We talked about this last time, but getting out of the trenches of the Hershey Hall weight room probably's got to help you. That place one of the muggiest rooms I've ever been in my entire life. That place is humid nonstop. But the MTI Center, beautiful arena. I've never been to a game at Central, but imagine it's a beautiful arena as well. Different scale a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of Central Michigan, right? So you're now the associate head coach for the men's basketball team. Kind of, how did that opportunity come about? I know you had a connection with Coach Bronk. Did you kind of realize and reflect and say, okay, I want something more? Or did Coach Bronk reach out to you? Kind of, how did that get started?
Well, Bronx and I have been close here, really close, probably the last 4 or 5 years in particular, calling each other once a week or so, just kind of picking each other's brain. We have very similar philosophies. It's how do we make the players better? What else can we do for them? So, we would really get a hold of each other quite often when things were good. How do we maintain it? And when things weren't going so well, just reminding each other to stay the course. We have a plan. It works. But about 2 weeks before he got the job, him and I had a conversation about a 5-year plan to be Division I head coaches. How are we going to make this move? I'd been close a couple other times. I had a chance to go down to Texas as a staff a support staff coach at one time that didn't pan out that I was close with, and had some other opportunities as a D2 head coach that I didn't think were really a better situation than what we had at Trine. But we really, at this point, I really wanted to coach this team this year. I don't. I talked to Coach Lewis at Ball State last summer about possibly joining their staff, but it just the timing wasn't quite right there. And we have a lot of respect for those guys. But Coach Bronkman and I talked about it. What's a 5-year plan? What do we need to do to put ourselves in a situation to be head coaches at the Division I level? And then 2 weeks later, he calls me and says, "Hey, I think, I think we're in this. I think it matters. They called me. The search firm always calls. They always call the top D2 head coaches. But when our athletic director Amy Folan told them that her and Chris Walker, our administrative or our associate athletic director, were going to his house to meet with him, we thought, hey, this is real. This could really happen. So a backstory to that: Coach Bronkman got offered the Detroit job about 4 years ago, and somehow, some way, between the time he accepted it and the time he had to sign the paper, word got out and the job was off the table. So we had top secrecy for like 5 or 6 days going through this process. It was him, my wife, and me kind of coaching him through it, and just being sounding boards for him and talking about what we would do. And he said, well, you're going to come with me if I take this or if I get this job. I said, absolutely. And we talked about, no brainer. So it was like a 3 or 4 day deal at the end. It was getting kind of tight. And, I was looking at some other opportunities as well, but, I've always dreaded that time where I was going to walk into Coach Land's office and thank him for everything he did for us, our athletic director, trying to, but hey, I was going to take another position, and it happened real quick. So at noon on Monday, it was official. And at 12:06, I was in Coach Land's office and talking to him about the new opportunity. And I was talking to the team at 3 at Trine, and then at 7 o'clock, I was up here in Mount Pleasant, ready to roll. We were making recruiting calls. So that's what we had to do. We were trying to keep a couple of guys here that we had, but it was pretty wild. It happened really quick, and I never would have did it if we didn't have the support of our family. But leaving Trine was very, very difficult. It was not an easy decision. I just felt like I wanted to learn more. I needed another challenge. I needed something in my career. I wanted to learn from someone else, but I also thought I had a lot to contribute to this level with some of the success and the things we were doing at Trine. So I was excited for this opportunity and very thankful for that opportunity and what we've been able to do here in these last 3 months, put an entire team of 15 players together. We're actually still looking for one more walk-on to be number 15. He brought his former staff. I'm the only non-Ferris guy here on staff that has worked for him at some point or another. We've had to hire an athletic trainer, and we've had to hire a strength coach. We've had to basically do everything from the ground floor, and it's just been an awesome experience. And now at our level, hell, we're practicing. So we're 5-6 weeks into practice right now. We get 4 hours a week. We go 1 hour a day, 4 hours a week. So we're implementing some of our key fundamentals, and it's just been a blast. And it's just been, you wake up at 6 or 7 every morning, you put your clothes on, kiss the wife, take the dog for a walk, hug the kids, you're out the door. You get a few minutes with them here and there, but it's been nonstop for about 3 months, and it's been great. So
that's interesting, you talking about the timing, and almost had a couple different opportunities. And if you had been at Detroit Mercy or at Detroit, you would have, things would have been different, right? Trying, maybe does have a national championship, but you are not a national champion winning coach. You don't have that moment, that kind of, you coached a year after, but like almost seems to me like it culminated in everything that you've been working for, at Trine. And so it seems like, one of the reasons that deal didn't go through and didn't work out that way is you still had more to do at Trine. And I feel like, going to Central Michigan, like you wanted to coach this year, you felt kind of more at peace with it moving on at this stage than maybe you would have 5 years ago.
Absolutely. It was, I just wanted to continue to improve the vision that I have about what we can do with the game of basketball, the platform we can have. And I was very lucky to have the platform we had at Trine for 14 years, to work with the young men we worked with. The type of leadership we had at Trine was right on board with my beliefs, being a graduate of Hillsdale College. You and I have talked about that before. So it was a really great place for me to grow. But I just felt like it was time for me to spread my wings a little bit more. And one of the reasons I haven't left in the past, It's not like Calipari in Kentucky were beating on my door
Hmm.
either. It wasn't, there weren't a
Right.
whole lot of options. But the biggest thing was like it was so hard to leave the players, and we were losing 9 seniors overall. Um, it was a really tough year with everything we endured and we went through. But I thought if there was a time to leave, it was going to be now. And I hated leaving the guys that were there. We were 4 or 5 returning young players that are going to be great players, and I'm glad they stayed. And they're going to be great under Coach John Vanderwall there. But it was hard to leave them too. But I wasn't leaving an entire team. And there were some times in my career I was like, well, I can't leave these guys. And last year was one of them. So the investment that you make with those guys, they don't really understand how important they are to you. You do your best as a coach, just like you do as a parent, to make sure your kids know how much you love them. But at times you're still their parent and you're still their coach. So you got to discipline them. You got to try to make them better. You got to point out where they can improve. And that's not something that's always affirming to young men in particular that are all full of testosterone. They think you're criticizing them all the time. But I really truly love those guys, every single one of them, for everything they gave us. And this just seemed like the timing was right with some of the leadership changes we were going through at Trine. My wife was a senior vice president there, and Dr. Brooks was, he was there in his last year, and then Dr. Shannon took over, and then Dr. Brooks came back, and we were in another search for another president. So the timing just seemed to work out. Although the spirit of Trine is kind of like the spirit of Christmas. I tell people, there's something really powerful about it, that it really doesn't matter who's there. It just brings about the best in everybody and forces you to raise your game to a level. Coach Dankelson just won another national championship in softball this year.
Hmm.
Coach Rang's got another great team coming back. So the things that I learned at Trine were just how to represent yourself in a really and build a brand in a lot of ways that was more than just playing the game. It was how we carried ourselves, what we did off the floor, and the timing was just right. I just felt like we achieved a lot there, and we had touched a lot of people in a positive way. And I think in my career, I'm sure there was at least 1 or 2 parent emails to Dr. Brooks or to Coach Land. But those are things you grow and you learn from. And I was just ready to build on what we did there, and to take it to a new level. Because I'm going to go off a little bit here, but I still believe, and I know Coach Bronkema does too, that we can make this thing relational still. I don't care what type of financial transactions are involved. Things are still the same. People have needs, and your job as the leader is to fulfill those needs. And their job, in order to get those needs fulfilled, they have responsibilities that they got to live up to. So we can do that here. I think you can do it at any level, but there is a relational side to it, and we're excited to do that. The young men that we were able to put together right now, all strong family backgrounds, a lot of support there, high character individuals, great students, student athletes, student first, and we think we can do it that way here, and we're going to show everybody we can.
That's awesome. You've been busy. Like when you took the job, like I didn't know you were going to be up there that day, but you've been up there, I think, since May, beginning of May. Like 2.5 months. Obviously, you've had the move, and that's I'm sure been your kids finishing up the school year and everything's been somewhat stressful in that regard. But what's your kind of last 2.5 months looked like now that you're sitting one chair over? I know you probably had to do a bit of everything at Trine, but like, what have your last 2 months entailed? Is it mostly recruiting? Is it developing the system? What have you guys been up to?
It's everything. So my job now is much more task oriented than it was before. I had to do the task too, but the big picture was everything. Now I can suggest on the big picture. I make comments on what the big picture can be, but in the end, it's Coach Bronkema's call and how we're going to do things. He wants me to help out with the defense. He wants us to bring some of our defensive principles that we had at Trine here. We had a lot of success with that there, and he followed us a lot. So he watched a lot of our games, but he has a pressing style of play. We're kind of a half court style of play, but blending the two together is going to be fantastic. I'm really excited about that. There's some other areas of that I'm responsible for, equipment, making sure everybody's got the gear they need, coaches and players. I'm a liaison between the athletic trainer and coach. I'm the liaison between our strength and conditioning program and coach and the staff. So there's certain things we're responsible for that I can really lock into a little bit more. That I was, as the head coach in small college, you are doing everything. I had guys in my office doing study table. There's different things that you have to make sure everyone is on the same page. So the preparation of that, I think, prepares you to do anything. Hell, I even told Dr. Brooks back in the president at Trine, he was in the interim role. I said, I don't know if anybody interacts with everybody on campus here at Trine like I do, and I know we're looking for a president. Why don't you just make me the president, and I'll handle all the stuff you don't want to do. You can still be the liaison, or you can still be the guy that has the vision, and I'll help you see it through. And my wife was there as a senior vice president, handling all the stuff I don't know anything about. But my point to that is, it prepares you to do anything. CEO, president, because you have to be involved. You're involved in recruitment. You're involved in retention. You're involved in performance. You're involved in sales. You're in marketing. You're involved in recruiting. Everything. So I think that experience that both Coach Bronkema and I have at the small college level is going to pay significant dividends here. It's actually kind of hard to give other people that responsibility and to delegate it to the actual professionals. Even community involvement as the head coach. We're running our Skills for Success clinics at Trine, which were a huge part of our championship there, and a lot of support and fan base that we were able to build. We brought that over here, but they have somebody involved for that, or somebody that comes up with those ideas. So so we get to focus a little bit more on the X's and O's and recruiting, and it's always about recruiting. It's always about finding the best fit and the best people to see your vision through as a staff. So we've spent a lot of time on that, but developing the guys we got. Again, we got 14 guys here. We got 12 of them here the first week of June, and then 2 guys, Logan McIntyre, and then Keenan Garner joined us here a little bit later in the month, and then Rodney Johnson, who's out with a shoulder injury. He's going to finally get on the floor with everybody full go at the end of August. So our team looks a lot different with those guys, but just really trying to, again, build the relationships, because what we're fighting right now is time. Time is not in our side when it comes to chemistry. Time is not in our side when it comes to repetition. So we have to build it. We have to fight against that. So we spend a lot of time together, and Coach Bronkema is a great family guy. I wouldn't have, there's only about 2 or 3 people I would ever go be an assistant for, and Coach Bronkema is one of them. And a lot of that is because he believes in the family, having your families a part of your program, because there is no such thing as balance. Like there's no, if you're good at anything, whether it's a basketball coach or a CEO of a company or a really great teacher in elementary school, like there's no real balance. You have to find a way to incorporate your family and your lifestyle into your job. And that's what I was so thankful for at Trine, that they allowed us to do that. And that's what Coach Bronkema is doing here as well.
You've got maybe fewer things that you're responsible for because you're able to delegate more with the bigger support staff, but seems like you're really able to dig in a lot more on the things that you are, now more specifically responsible for, which is probably, I don't know, a nice change of pace a little bit.
Yeah, I would say I've really enjoyed it. And, I'm doing a lot more listening now, which is something I've always been working on. And my wife reminds me of that every day. But I have actually, I'm really trying to do a much better job of listening. And I've learned a lot in a lot of different areas. And again, I think that, we're making a lot of contributions as well. But it's almost like a sabbatical in a lot of ways of coming here and seeing how they won their national championship, and how after they won their national title, how'd they get back to the Elite Eight so quickly after having never been there or haven't been there in a really long time. So Coach is really unique in his thinking. He's really unique in his leadership style. So it's been awesome seeing him. And I'm not just learning from Coach Bronkema, Coach Jim Lake, Coach Jim Booth, Josh Fleming, and Ramon McAfee both played for Coach Bronkema. So having those guys around and learning from them, and really it's made the adjustment period for me and Coach Bronkema pretty smooth, because I just lean on those guys when it's what is Coach like in this area, how do we want to suggest this, and so it's been fascinating in a lot of ways. I've went through about 2 or 3 different notebooks. I got them out here. I'm watching practice now. I just fill them up in the journal, something I can always go back to and look at during my time here.
That's really cool. So I guess kind of segues into the next question, right? So Division I and Division III are almost entirely different worlds, right? A lot different, at least from the public perspective, especially now with the NIL era. What are the biggest differences that you've noticed already? Especially as it relates to recruitment, because I think that's overarching from every level of basketball. It just changes. It is so vastly different.
Yeah, physically in recruiting, you're just recruiting guys that are just so much. And I've always knew this in Division III too. They're the physicality and the speed and the strength. They're just bigger, stronger, faster guys. I would say in Division III across the board that the skill level was maybe a little bit more consistent. 1 through 5, those guys could all shoot the basketball or maybe dribble it, but they just obviously weren't as big and as athletic. And we won our national title. We could fill those gaps pretty good. We kind of hit all those marks. But really, recruiting to me is still recruiting. Like they have needs, like I mentioned earlier, and we have to be able to meet those needs and provide them with an experience that's something that's going to be beneficial to them. Coach Bronkema has been awesome when it comes to, we're going to have happy transfers here. We're going to develop you for the next level, no matter what that is. Is that next level? Is it, is it to prepare you to go play at Michigan for $500,000 after you come play for us for 2 or 3 years? Is it to get you to the NBA? Is it to get you that college degree and get you to play professionally overseas? But we're going to prepare you one way, shape, or form. When you're here, we just ask that you stay totally committed to winning and to what the group needs. So in recruiting, we still have that same vision, that same message that I'd have at Trine. But it's just like anything else. You got to find out where those, if a guy's looking for $800,000 coming out of high school, this ain't the place for him. That's not a need we can meet. But if we're looking for a guy that really wants to improve in certain areas and contribute in ways of making the team better, we're all in, and we have that vision to share to them. So, when it comes to NIL, I just think it's not that much different than what we've been dealing with at other levels in Division III. You had financial aid packages. I mean, you could go to Albion for a tenth of the price it costs to go to Trine. We were able to figure out a way to overcome some of that with some of the things we did at Trine those last couple years, being able to pay the guys to work camps and clinics. That was tremendous for us. We kind of had to come up with our own form of financial aid in that way. Hope had full scholarships for people with certain type of ethnic backgrounds that fit a certain role. So financial aid at every level, there's resources there that are different. Even in Division II, not everybody's got fully funded scholarships like Coach Bronkema will tell you. So we've been fighting these battles forever. That's why I think they hired Coach Bronkema, is because, we're just really excited to have the resources we do have here at Central. We're going to maximize those. We're not going to worry about what Kentucky's doing, or we're not going to worry about, what is St. Louis giving their guys, or how are they doing it. We're going to do the best. We're going to find the best Chippewas we can find, and the guys that really fit our vision, and we're working our butts off. And we do a lot of, vetting when it comes to that, making sure we have the right guy and we're investing in the right individual.
Division III, I think, forgive me if I'm misremembering, but you didn't get the guys in the summer, did you? Or not nearly this long?
We did not. We did not. Once the season was done, we couldn't touch them again until practice started. The NCAA changed the rule 2 years ago where we got 8 days where we could work with them in the fall as a team, which I thought made a big difference and helped in retention and communication. But no, I mean, with nothing like this, and neither could Division II. They could lift and stuff in Division II in the summer, but Coach Bronkema didn't have any. He never had an opportunity to work with the guys on the floor in the off season in that summertime. So it's been we're used to this. So to us, even though we have 15 new players, 14 new players, we think we're ahead of the game with how we've implemented our systems before. So again, we're going to maximize what we have, the time we have. We're going to maximize the resources we have. There is no, man, we need this, or I wish we had that. That doesn't matter. It's still basketball. And the philosophy, I don't think, ever changes. If you really, really want to be successful, and you look at any level, NBA, junior high, share the ball, attack the ball, go get the ball. How do we communicate that to them, and how do we get to do it better than the other team? So that's a big, strong belief that I have, and we're just excited to get the guys that we have here on the floor and have our full team together.
Yeah, I'm sure getting, what is it? 8 weeks in the summer? Is that what you guys get?
Yeah, I think we get 8. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
I think we're on week 5 this week.
Having 8 weeks in the summer to, get some time on the court with the guys, I'm sure is significantly helpful for you to feel like you're ahead. So you and Coach Bronk have each, won a national championship. You won one at Division III at Trine. He won one at Ferris in Division II. But on our show, we always talk about how, and there's this kind of thought that winning is winning. And, when you win at one level, you typically go on to win at the next level, the next place you go, whether it's a different school or a different division. So how do you guys think that like that will translate as coaches who have won at this next level? We've seen coaches like more, I'd say it's becoming more common for coaches to move up from Division 2, now get looks for like a Division 1 job, like Josh Schertz came up from Division 2, and then Ben McCollum from Division 2. These guys that, who are very, very successful at Division 2 are getting these looks and like, hey, maybe they can do it here. And those are two examples of guys who have continued that success. So how do you guys think that the Division 2, the Division 3 success could translate or help you or whatnot in this new job environment you're in?
Well, I think that just three things that come to off the top of my head. What does a great coach do, or a good coach do, or a coach that's had success? I think you got to be a really good evaluator of talent, and everybody sees talent a little bit differently. I think there's a lot of different components to talent, especially what kind of system you want to run, what type of players you favor, how do you think you can execute better than everybody else. And then really good coaches are problem solvers, but you have to identify problems. So a lot of times that means you have to be accountable. You got to look in the mirror and say, hey, maybe I'm the problem here. Maybe we got to switch something or make some adjustments. And then in the end, you got to be a teacher. Being a teacher, those things I think really are always going to stand strong against the test of time, no matter what sport you're playing or whatever group you're working with when it comes to leadership. So I think we've had success in all three of those areas, myself and Coach Bronkema and some of those other coaches that you listed. I would say, I've just been really lucky throughout my career and really throughout my life to have incredible mentors. I felt like Forrest Gump a lot of ways, like people that have come into my life. My high school coach, Jerry Kiefer, was just the perfect guy for me at that time in my life, and really taught me how to support and encourage, and was always there for the players. Anytime we needed to get in the gym, he'd leave his house and open the gym for me and my teammates. Anything we needed, he was incredible. And then throughout my career, playing for Coach Dalma at Hillsdale College, where he won a national championship at Calvin, and then he gets me an opportunity to go to Texas Tech and work for Coach Knight, who's won 3 national titles, and Coach Beard's on staff there, not to mention Les Fertig, a bunch of other guys I learned from. And then I go to the South Plains, where I probably learned more than anything in the world, from Steve Green, who won 3 national titles and could have won 2 more. He's just a tremendous, tremendous experience. But throughout those relationships, where I think I've been able to benefit a lot is Coach Beard's always invited me. Every time he gets a new job, I get to go spend a week with him where he's at. So I've seen this done a little bit, again, even in a small sample size, a week at a time. But whether it was Texas, Ole Miss, or even Texas Tech the last time, to watch how they build it from the ground up. I think, we've tried to use some of those, some of those guidelines here, and I've tried to share those with Andy. And I think, but a lot of people, not just Coach Beard, have helped that vision grow to what we think we need to do. And again, it's been a while since I've been a part of a MAC game, since my freshman year at Toledo. But I think, if we can continue to evaluate talent at a high level, and that's going to adjust, once we get out there in it, we're going to know what we need, who we got to get, what things are going to work for us, solving problems. And then how are we going to teach what we need these guys to do? How are we going to get them to play together the best and execute? Because I still think that goes a long way. When it comes to recruiting. And when they just went to the 15-man roster, you guys got to imagine this. You guys would probably know the number better than me, but I'm guessing there's maybe 70 Power 5 schools somewhere in there, or Power 5 / some next 4, whatever they call them. But that's 3 more scholarships, or 2 more scholarships for each program. So I think not just us at Central Michigan, I think this is the best time for guys like Coach Bronkema and I to get into this, because I think there's a lot of what do we need? Who do we got to get? How are we going to evaluate? Who's going to be successful here? But again, execution is going to matter. So both Coach Bronkema and I take a lot of pride in teaching. And it's fun picking each other's brains on different methods and different styles, especially working with each other at practice here these last 5 weeks.
I guess I never really thought about like that roster component of it, and just having more, it sounds silly to say that like having more people like helps, but like, I mean, I guess, that does make sense to me.
You go from 13 scholarship players to 15 at the highest level. And that's, those players that used to play in the MAC are now, third team big guys or
Yeah.
backup wings and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting this year on how to evaluate the talent of all the mid-major conferences. I think everything's up for grabs every year at every mid-major. Even though some guys got higher payrolls than others when it comes to NIL, I still think if you can execute, that'll really put you up the charts, and that's something we have to focus on. Now, there's other great coaches in this league that are saying the same thing, and I know they're going to work just as hard. But to us, we don't have a choice. We have to do that. We got to get it done.
I haven't dug into your guys' roster. To be honest, I haven't dug into the Indiana team's rosters yet. This is still early, but did you guys assemble that roster with some guys from Ferris to start off, and then did Coach bring some guys with him, and then you guys kind of filled from? Were you looking at primarily D1 guys? Were you looking at transfers up or transfers down from high major schools? How did you guys kind of fill that roster?
That's great. That's a great question. So Coach Bronkema brought 3 individuals with him from Ferris that played for him: Jordan Brooks, Nate Clairbout, and Jackson Whitaker. All 3 of those guys had been a part of his program for at least 1 year. Jackson was a freshman last year. The other guys were older, and he signed a young man, Jalen Campen, to Ferris early in the fall that he brought with him too. So he brought 4 guys with him basically from his Ferris program. And then I was able to contribute some in recruiting with 3 Indiana guys. We got Keenan Garner out of IU Indy as a transfer. I loved him in high school. I just absolutely watching him play on that Fishers team both years. And then for him to help them lead to a championship that year, I thought he was a steal at IU Indy. He was incredible. We were lucky to get him here at Central. And then we got Logan McIntyre from Southern Indiana. He was a transfer. He started his career at Evansville, but played at Kentucky Wesleyan the last couple years. And then we got Nick Mullen, who was at Chesterton. He played at Chesterton High School for Mark Urban. So that was a great relationship for us to get Nick here. So we're excited about all those guys. And we got Ramon McAfee brought Tamario Adley with him from Wayne State. And I go down the list with a lot of guys, but we just really wanted to find the right fits. I know Coach Bronkema was recruiting Caden Nation to Ferris at a time, thought he'd be a really good fit here. So he brought him in from Indian Hills Junior College. So we filled it a lot of different ways, and a lot of it had to do with need. But we had a plan, though. We had a plan that we were not going to. I mean, we had a lot of debate until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning about how we were going to do this thing. But we were going to get 200-pound point guards. Our 2 through 4 men were all going to be at least 6'3" and shoot over 40% from the field. And we were going to get shot blocking 5 men, and we did that. So with the 12 scholarships, we were able to utilize. The other 3 are walk-on spots for us. We were able to see that vision through. So now we have to take those pieces of that puzzle and see how they fit together and how we can get it to execute. But that was the goal. I mean, we were joking during the draft. Coach Fleming said, "Hey, something about Tyrese Halliburton wouldn't be able to make our roster this year because he was like 185 or 190 or something like that." So we would have had to have passed on him in recruiting. But that was it. We had a real vision there, and Coach Bronkema was an unbelievably disciplined human being, and I'm learning a lot from that. I could be better myself. So he said, "This is what we're doing. Do they fit do they fit it? And if they didn't fit it, you better have a really good explanation of why you brought this guy to the table." So, but that's what we did. So we think we can have an immediate identity. That was the key. We wanted in year 1, we were going to have an identity. We just weren't going to be a hodgepodge of players that we just grabbed this guy because he scored 13 a game, that guy because he had 15 a game, or this guy because he's got, he played at wherever. And we just weren't going to do that. We had a real plan, and we want to see it executed. And this is where we're at.
I like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You see it, at the high major level. I feel like there's always 1 or 2 teams that for example, I would classify last year's Indiana team as a team that's they acquired all this high level talent that on paper is wow, look at what all these guys can do, but maybe spent more time on that instead of how do they fit together? Do they fit the program? Do they fit the style, the system? And I feel like you two are your staff is doing it the other way, where you're okay, we have the program that we want, we have the style, these are the guys that we need. Let's get guys that fit that more than anything. And we can get guys everybody wants to score. We can get guys who can score. We need them to fit this system, this style, everything that we need first and foremost.
Yeah, and that was kind of our plan at Trine. In small college, especially in Division III, you kind of have to pick your deficiency, because we just weren't going to get a bunch of guys that could dribble, pass, and shoot. And Hope and Calvin were the team when I first got there. The first 8 years, those were the teams that won the league. And what could they?
Mm-hmm.
They had really big guards. They were strong. You couldn't simulate their length and strength at practice. So we just said, screw it. We're just going to take the strongest, biggest guys, and we're going to play them. So we played. The one year we were 22-4. Connor Jones was our starting point guard, and I think we started 4 forwards and a center, but we found a way to win 22 games because we were powerful in one area. We could really dominate you physically at the defensive end of the floor. I think we only scored 60 some points a game that year, but we held our opponents to like 60 or 59. So
Yeah.
that was just something we knew we could be good at. We were going to offensive rebound and try to create more possessions. And then the next year we score like 83 points a game when we pick up Fred, Cortez, and Drew. So
Yeah.
we added those 3 spots because we knew we needed speed. So we were able to do that. And the one year we were able to put it all together, it worked for us. So that's kind of what I'm really excited about moving forward here, where we can actually kind of, it's all relative when I say choosing your players. But if we didn't get Emmanuel at Trine, like we weren't going to get anybody that could block a shot. Like that was not like that. Here, we were able to pull up a list of, all right, here's the top 5 shot blockers in NAIA. Here's the top 5 D2 shot blockers. Here's the top 10 guys that we can afford in the portal right now that are D1 shot blocking guys. So those are things that we can look at here. We might not get the top guy on our list, but we can still get a guy that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just got to, make them better.
Yeah. Speaking of roster construction and players that kind of fit what your system is, so you got transfer Keenan Gardner from, like you mentioned, IU Indianapolis. This summer, actually, he played in the U19 FIBA World Championship for, I believe, Germany. When you're in a situation like that as a young kid, right, you're playing with a lot of worldwide talent, a lot of great talent. How valuable is that experience? How does that translate now to going into his second year of college?
Oh, it's significant. But let me just tell you, the type of guy he is how he makes it work. He did not play in the first 2 games of the FIBA championships. Okay. So they get to maybe it was the first, he played a little bit in one of them. But my son's watching every game every morning. And I was like, how'd Keenan do? Or how's he doing? He's like, oh, but coach or dad, he's cheering. He's the first guy up off the bench. He's making it happen, and he wasn't even sure he was going to make the team, even though he was at the workouts and everything else. Well, the quarterfinal game comes around, and I don't know what happened, but the coach decides to throw him in the first half in a really tight game. He goes for, I think he had 10 and 8 and 17 minutes coming off the bench after not playing at all. And then the next game he comes in a huge role, and he really contributes. Like his rebounds per minute were incredible. And then he ends up playing in, he plays all the way through and helps him get all the way to the gold medal game and against the United States team that is just freakishly talented. I couldn't believe it. I told him, I said, I didn't know 19-year-old kids that you could get that collection of them that are that gifted. I mean, they were incredibly gifted, but his team was great too. Hell, the guys he was playing behind, one's going to Texas, one's going to Washington. The other one, I think, played at Syracuse. I mean, those are the guys he's playing behind. So, but he's got an incredible family structure. His dad, David, and his mom, Esther. Dad is a retired military guy that met Esther. She's from Germany, which is why he has the dual citizenship. And they're just tremendous people, and they build an unbelievable young man that's capable of not sulking, not feeling sorry for himself, being a part of this team and going and helping him get a silver medal. So that's what we're the most excited about with Keenan Gardner. I mean, not to mention the fact that he's he's like a Draymond Green at our level, the way he can play, how strong he is, the motor he plays with, the conviction that he has with his teammates. Just a tremendous young man, and you could just see it on the floor. You just know how he plays, that hey, that's a guy I want a part of my life some way, shape, or form. And to have him choose us to share his journey with, I was ecstatic. So
you're like the 3rd or 4th guy that I've heard talk about Keenan in that way, and that him being at IU Indy was like an insane pull for IU Indy to get because he's just so good. He's just such a good player.
Yeah, he was. I just felt like coming out of there, he was extremely underrated because you can pull up all the stats you want, but he was a freshman last year, and then Reese McGinsey, one of our former players, was an assistant on that staff.
Yeah.
So Reese had a lot to do with us being able to get Keenan to say yes to come to Central Michigan and trust us, and knowing that we had a real vision for him to have a lot of success.
Yeah, I remember Adam and I got the opportunity to go to IUND's home opener last year. Their readers become leaders event that it really kicks off the Division One season, and we're sitting there on the court, and we didn't know what to expect from that team last year because it was an all entirely new roster. And I remember when Keenan came in and just the way he played, I was like, he's special. This kid's probably not going to be here next year because he's just that special of a player and a kid from what we saw. So really great that he landed in good hands.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's pretty crazy. I mean, this isn't a dig on the MAC as a conference, but when you're playing against AJ DeBonsa and guys who are like gonna be number one in the draft, that's pretty that's a pretty crazy moment to be like, this guy could go on to be like, I'm playing a guy who might go on to be the number one pick in the draft and be an all-star. That's just wild.
Yeah, the way the game has evolved, the impact that these guys all have on each other because they're playing against each other all year round. In the United, I think LeBron takes a lot of heat for maybe not being competitive enough or whatever the criticism is there. But you got to understand the time he was in when he's playing he's playing against the best players in the country. He's gotten to know these guys since he was 15 years old.
Yeah.
Then they go to the NBA together. Like it's all not all of a sudden you're just going to start hating a guy. So I think things have evolved so much with how much basketball these kids play at such a young age. And I've always said as a parent, like the best part about AAU or USA basketball is, if I'm at an AAU event, my kid gets to play with a bunch of kids from all over the region. He can build relationships with, but most importantly, he can go play against a team from Florida at 10 a.m. and see how good those guys are in Florida, and then go play against a team from Texas at 6 p.m. and say, man, these guys are even better than those guys. I got a lot of work to do. So I think that's, the game is just such a global game now, not just basketball, but almost everything. And it's had a real positive impact, especially on the skill level of the game.
I think you're right, and I think it's like, especially I think looking at like just how time has changed, and all the top players, like you said, they know each other from an early age. They surround themselves with they go gravitate towards each other, and then just like the world has shrunk because of like phones and the internet. Like if I'm the number one player in the class, I can hate the guy who's number two, or I can become friends with them. We can talk about how to be better,
or you call them and say, hey, these agents are blowing my phone up. How did you choose who you got? Or you're both going through the same things. Like it's just they're going through that. You can share your struggle with them a little bit. Or hey, I saw that you played really well the other night watching you at the the Puma tournament. What did you think that worked best against that guy? Could you share some stuff with me? It's just the world has definitely changed, and communication has had. Hey, coaching is way better now, and it's not because we're smarter. We just share information more. It's like anything else. I mean, you watch these kids. I mean, I'm watching my son and play some of these baseball tournaments. These guys are through the roof. 10, 11 years old, can do things that we sure as hell couldn't do. But it's just a real unique time. And if you want to be good, boy, you better have a carry tool, as Coach Bronkema says. You better have something you do better than anything else you do, or better than anything anybody else does. So those are important things.
You've got obviously some time. It's still only July. Season doesn't tip for a while, but what are you looking forward to most once the season starts? Obviously enjoy your time once your 8 weeks are up and while your family settles in and your kids get back to school. But what are you looking forward to once the season starts?
I'm really looking to find out more about how we can help this team improve. This is at this point, this is a one bid league. So we get to go through, in Division III, we had to win every non-conference game. And even then, I think we were 30 I don't even know. We lost. We were 30 something and 36-3 in the non-conference, and only got the one NCAA tournament game. Go figure that one out. But here we know what we got to do. So each and every day, regardless of the result, we got to find out a way to get these guys better. So that's what I'm looking forward to more than anything else. How can we help them be successful in the areas that I'm more responsible for than others, but just how can we help lead these guys? And we've all come here now. So the players, the coaches, we're all at Central Michigan. We all came here together. Everybody's on a new journey. So I'm excited to see what type of path that winds us down. How windy is it going to be? How hilly is it going to be? Does it ever flatten out? What are some things that we're going to be able to overcome together? Those moments of just the grind, the process. And I think back to Trine, some of the things that were making me miserable at the time. I look back on it, and that was the most fun. Just trying to make that decision. How are we going to get Aiden Smiley to do this, or how are we going to get these guys to share the ball a little bit more? So those are the things that, as I've matured and I have a more of a body of work under my belt as a coach or as a leader, those are the things I'm looking forward to. What problems do we get to solve? And because I think that the groups of people, the staff, the leaders, the guys that can really embrace the adversity and see it as a tool and figure out, okay, if we can figure this out before the other guy, we're going to have more success or better than the other guy. So that's what I think I'm looking most forward to is how can we make this team better, and what is it that we're going to have to make them better at each and every day.
And then, when you're in a game and Coach Bronk gets his second tech, then you can slide over, get a little bit of the feel of being the head coach again for like a half. Just start pushing him, getting him riled up.
Man, I don't know about that. Coach Bronco and I think we do have a little bit different demeanor towards the officials.
Really?
Yeah, from what I've heard, what I've been told, but no, it's been great. So
he might be yelling at you to not get a bench technical.
Yeah, that could easily be. I can't imagine how many times he's gonna have to tell me to sit down. It's kind of a habit that I've been into the last 14 years of standing up. So.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about that earlier too. I was like, man, you're moving one seat over, but also that you actually have to use the seat.
Yeah. Well, I've the last couple years, I've really tried to focus on shutting up more in games and just waiting until the timeout to organize. Because the minute I start coaching them in the middle of the play, something bad happens. I'd turn around to Coach Bentley or to Kyle, and I said, God, can I just shut up? So I've been working on staying quiet during active play recently, but I don't know to what effect. I'm sure if you talk to Jace Cusack and Nate Tucker, they'll tell you something different. But it is something that I've been working on, just really watching how they execute in the game, and then make your adjustments during the breaks.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that. Well, or not think. I know that we'll be cheering for you this season. Other than once or maybe twice, depending on how the we haven't seen the schedule yet for the MAC, but when you play Ball State, it might be a little hard for us to cheer on you.
I totally understand.
But
I hope you guys can make the trip there. I'd love to see you and sneak you some gear if I can. So
if you guys do you have your conference games? I don't know if you guys go to Ball State or not.
No, they don't release the conference matchups, I think, till the end of the month. So the schedule is also something that's one of my responsibilities that I have learned. You wouldn't believe what goes into scheduling a game. I don't know if it's like this at every place or if it's just here at Central Michigan, but it takes weeks to get a deal done with somebody. Like before, it was a phone call. I mean, some games we didn't have contracts for. Hey, you got to come play. Yeah, we'll be there. I'd just take the contract down to Coach Land. He'd sign it. I'd email it back. We'd be done in 15 minutes. But it's like, especially some of these teams in Indiana, it's like they're impossible to schedule. So
you got to, I think it's, you guys call in a favor and head down to see, play a game at Ole Miss.
No, we try to do it logistically where we got to make money. We got to pay these guys now, so they guarantee money. So every dollar we spend on a plane ticket or something like that, that's more money we could put in their pocket. So we try to do as close to those guarantee games. We try to play them as close to here as we can, but we would love to do that. That'd be a lot of fun.
We heard a little bit from Coach Graves, who's the head coach of Indiana State now, talking about just like scheduling is hard, and it he had to pick up as the head coach after they went to the championship of the NIT, and it was just like, yeah, it's impossible. Just nobody wants to play you. It's just nope, they won't even take your call or anything. Yeah, a lot of, I'm sure a lot of those differences are not so fun.
Yeah.
from the Division 3 to the Division 1 level. But Coach, we are. I don't want to frame it in a way as like calling it a better job, but it's a different level. So I'm happy to see you move on to a different level where you seem to be happy and you're excited. And sometimes you just need a job change. Just need a change of scenery to really kind of invigorate you. And I'm excited to see you fired up for.
Thanks. Well, just really needed to sharpen my vision a little bit on where we wanted to go and how we wanted to do it, and we just excited to do it with a guy like Coach Brockman to represent Central Michigan. Always said, and I love living up here. I'm sitting here staring at my backyard right now. It's like staring at the savannah. It's incredible. I got deer running across, rabbits out here playing, and just it's a pretty relaxing place. I was fishing this morning in Ludington. Coach gave me the weekend off the road, so I got to go spend some time up there, and it's a neat area to live, and we're just proud of what we represent, but more so our style of play and what how we want our team to represent Central Michigan. We think is really important, and we'll always be, Trine ain't going anywhere from us. I tell you that. They're the biggest supporters there. When I left that office with Coach Land, the last thing I said to him was, "Hey, if you want to keep winning, you better hire John Vanderwall from Marietta." I know he's talked about leaving there. He's the best there is, and that's the guy you want to go after. And to Coach's credit, he got on a plane. I think John was in Florida on vacation. He flew down there and saw him and talked him into taking the job. So they're in good hands. I tell you, I am missing the Hoosier boys basketball camp, which started today, which is one of the fun. It was a very stressful week, but it was always a fun week being around all those kids. I love being around those young kids that just love basketball and watching them kind of interact with each other. So I do miss that. Wish them the best and nothing but the best. I'll be their biggest fan moving forward too. So thanks a lot for having me on. I really appreciate it, and love following you guys as well. And thank you for the mug. Appreciate it. I owe you at least some gear. So can't wait to cook up with you guys sometime soon.
Yeah, we'll call it a fair trade then.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thanks for taking the time and joining us, Coach. We appreciate it.
You bet. Have fun, guys. See ya.
See ya.
Man, I am very sad to see. I'm very sad to see Coach move out of the state of Indiana. But I'm happy to see that he's landed somewhere where he's happy. He's learning again. I think that's a really big thing for him, especially after him talking about like, okay, what's the 5-year plan to do a Division I head coach? Because I don't remember if this was on the air or if it was, when we were talking to him last, but talking about after they'd won the national championship last year, like, is there any chance that we see you like with any of these jobs that were opening up? Because we obviously knew IU Indy was going to open up. We knew, I guess, like Indiana State was opening. Like we knew that there were jobs opening, and basically like
in the region.
And and we were like, okay, well maybe because UIndy, we were like, maybe he moves to UIndy or something, like moves up in a division. And he was basically saying that like he's had opportunities presented to him a while, which makes sense. I mean, you'd be silly not to try and hire a winner like him, but like I was just wondering like when that would happen. And it seems like he just found the right situation, the right fit where he can learn and kind of push his career forward. So I'm really happy for him for that reason, and amongst others, obviously.
Yeah. No, I think it's really cool that it reminds me of him when he told the story, which you'll have to hear the story. You'll have to listen to our last interview with him last year. When he told the story of getting the Trine job, right?
Yeah.
It just kind of not fell in his lap, but it was the stars aligned. Like everything that could have gone wrong on his drive from Texas to Indiana did go wrong.
Yeah.
But also everything worked itself out,
and
then he ended up getting the job, right? And has been there, has loved it there for so long. And it's almost one of those things that, like, again, the stars aligned this time as he was having the conversation with Coach Bronco, like, okay, where do we want to be in 5 years?
Yeah.
What is our path to Division I head coaches? And then it just kind of worked out.
Yeah. And
he's been able to make that next step up from the Division III level to the associate head coach, which is, like you mentioned it during the interview, is head coach gets a tech or gets double techs. Right. He's next man up,
he's
kind of thing. Like
he's that second chair.
So it's just really cool. Just his path to getting there and how it's worked out for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think is very what's the word? I don't want to say divine, but like
kind of meant to be, you know.
Yeah. Stars aligned as the best metaphor to use.
And I kind of wondered, so there's kind of two ways I guess that you can think of, that I kind of think of as like, okay, when a guy like wins a national championship like at a school, they could be like locked in. One option is like they're locked in and they're gonna stay there. You see that with like Jim Crutchfield, like he's just D2 legend, right? He's never leaving. He's gonna stay there forever. And then Miller wins his first, and it's like, okay, I don't know. I should have asked him this, but like I thought that they were going to get a bid last year. They didn't, and they were a 5-loss team.
Yeah,
they didn't get a bid.
3-loss team, weren't they?
I think 5 last year.
Oh,
okay. Overall, but like finished third in conference, didn't get the bid, and it's like, you could see him build something that's going to last forever, or it's like, okay, maybe this has kind of run its course, and like if I want to, like, there are Jim Crutchfields in the world. But like most people don't aspire to be the head coach at a Division II or Division III level forever.
I mean, when I think about like as a baseball coach, right? Like my ideal progression, right? Is I'm a head assistant now, and pretty much like if our current head coach is to go anywhere, either we've already talked about it because we've even at the high school level, like coaches get calls and like, hey, have you thought about coming to this school? Like if he goes somewhere, like he'd bring me with him, but if he just like retires, I'd be the next one up. And then okay, it's like then we talk about, okay, do we try and go to like an NAIA Division III college and coach there?
Right.
And like I always think that like even if I'm not a head coach at the Division I level,
right,
but I'm the 12th assistant, like to me as a coach, like that is what I'd be pleased with. I'd be pleased to say that I made it. I am a coach at the Division I level.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, kind of what you're getting at. Of like, there's people who you want to move up, whether it's.
And he's talked about, like, he said he's doing a lot more listening, which I think is a big reason for the move. Right. You are the head coach at a D3 school for 14 years. You're learning from your friends who coach at different programs, different levels, and all that stuff. But like at the end of the day, like you make all the calls, and you don't have, like, you can only learn so much. Like during the season, like you're teaching, but now he gets to learn, expand his bag, and I'd love to see him coach a Division I team, head coach in the next 5 years.
Yeah,
I'd love to see it. Don't want to see an Indiana coach leave, but I would like to have him back in the state of Indiana. I know he's spent a lot of time in Michigan, and Trine's basically right there, but just really proud that he got the job and was nice enough to come on, and that Trine hired the guy that he recommended. Like that's cool too. That shows that the school cares, and that he cared and didn't just like want to move on and I see ya.
If so, you talk about leave a current Indiana coach leaving, and then Brooks coming in to replace them. I thought of a scenario that to me would make me feel okay with it, right? So 5 years, Rick Carlisle's he's an older coach, right? No surprise. In the next 5 years, Pacers are going to win an NBA championship, and then that's like, okay, Rick Carlisle can probably he got the program where it needed to be.
Yeah.
Got the elusive championship in Indiana. He could probably ride off into the sunset at that point. Like he will be a legend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then Micah Shrewsbury gets the call from the Pacers.
Yeah.
And then
or Painter.
Or Painter. I just think Shrewsbury just because.
Yeah, he's spent time in the NBA.
Yeah, he's already been at the NBA. And then Brooks just gets the call from Notre Dame.
That'd be crazy. I think it, and I also like wonder, you're the head coach at Trine, and like you win a national championship, like you've done it. Like if he's trying to become a Division I head coach, like how much more evidence can you really show that, like, hey, I'm a good head coach? Like, that's proven. Now it's like, hey, yeah, I've been in Division 1. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, I know Division 1 now. Like, that, I'm sure that would be helpful too. But man, no T on the chest anymore. It's got to feel weird. After 14 years, that's got to feel weird.
I think it's funny. He was talking about the C and the colors in Calvin.
Yeah.
Like associating with that, because that's what it's been associated to for him for so long, and that's obviously a big rival competitor of Trine. But I even said it. I mean, man, the golden maroon looks good on him.
Yeah.
Good. It's a good color on him.
It works. But
we're
we're trying to get someone for next week. We realized we don't have much of anything interesting to say, but there are people who are very interesting, so we're trying to get somebody set up for next week. So maybe see you next week.
Well, I was going to ask. I was like, "It's what are we?
Don't know.
When are we back?
Too many dono walls, you know.
Yeah, no.
It's hard to reach people that we don't know, and
that's I was talking to my dad about this the other day. It's been so hard because last year we had just a stacked lineup for us, but also just obviously our viewers and listeners of different people that we've built a relationship with and we're able to get to come on. Well,
yeah.
Looking at it this year, like a lot of those players have either graduated or transferred away or coaches left and things like that. It's like there's just been so much that, because of the turnover, right?
Yeah.
Amongst teams, both players and staff, right? It's harder for us as just two guys that like to talk ball with other people to like rebuild these connections every year.
Yeah, and they're practicing, and like
it's also summer and
the coaches are
year.
teaching, so it's tough. But we will try and find some people. Might go into the bag of, and it's not that I don't want to have people on. We just had we've had repeat guests. I love having repeat guests, but it's hard to find a new relationship, get somebody on that we haven't had on before.
Yeah.
Just for expanding what our audience can hear. So we'll do our best. Might reach into some non-Division 1 levels, and there's some people that I want to get on to, so we'll see. You'll hear from us soon, at the very least.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the clock is showing quadruple zeros, so it's time for us to get out of here. Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball podcast. We will see you next time. And remember, in 49 states,
it's just basketball.